Most of the world already believes China is a military superpower. But is that image real, or does it fracture under pressure? For the past few decades, China has appeared unstoppable. Hypersonic missiles, stealth jets, aircraft carriers, a massive active military, expanding its global footprint, going head-to-head with the United States and increasingly measured against Russia. China is positioning itself as the next global superpower. That's the narrative. And narratives remain powerful until they're tested, because every superpower is eventually tested. So when was the last time this one survived real war? Strength on paper is rarely the same as strength in war. Over the past 2 decades, Chinese weapons have quietly spread across the world. From South Asia to the Middle East to South America, they've become a major force in the global arms market. Fighter jets, air defense systems, armed drones, ballistic missiles. The range is massive. They're usually cheaper than Western systems. They come with fewer political conditions, and they're often delivered faster. For many countries, that's hard to ignore, which made the world to think that if so many nations are buying Chinese weapons in bulk, they must work. And if this is what China is willing to export, what does it keep for itself? On paper, that reasoning sounds fair. But 2025 raised a serious question, because when real conflicts broke out between capable, heavily armed states, the results didn't always match the reputation. In early 2025, tensions between India and Pakistan spiked. After a Pakistan-backed militant attack inside Indian territory, triggering a rapid military escalation. The crisis lasted less than 5 days before both sides agreed to a ceasefire. Pakistan entered the standoff with confidence, driven largely by Chinese-supplied military systems. Fighter jets equipped with Chinese armaments, China-origin air-to-air missiles like the PL-15E, Chinese-supported air defense layers, and integrated surveillance and targeting systems. On paper, this looked like a credible deterrent, but India's response was methodical and measured. India activated a layered air defense setup anchored by the Russian-built S-400 Triumph, locally referred to as a Sudarshan Chakra, and supported by its command, control, radar, and interceptor network. There was no panic, just preparedness. Then came a telling moment. Pakistani forces fired the Chinese-made PL-15E long-range air-to-air missile, a state-of-the-art weapon designed to dominate aerial engagements. But Indian forces recovered an unexploded missile fragment inside Indian territory. It neither detonated nor achieved a decisive strike. A missile widely touted as advanced was now sitting on the ground, intact. Pakistan employed a range of Chinese-linked systems during the exchange. PL-15E missiles, air defense networks sourced or supported with Chinese technology, UAVs and standoff strike concepts. Yet, according to Indian officials, these exchanges failed to inflict meaningful strategic damage on critical infrastructure, air bases, or civilian areas. The violence de-escalated quickly, and the outcome was largely limited to localized engagements, rather than decisive battlefield effects. The confrontation didn't end because Chinese-backed systems deterred or prevailed. It ended because both sides stepped back under intense diplomatic pressure, especially from the United States, which intervened to stabilize the region. China, despite being Pakistan's primary defense partner, was not the decisive stabilizing force in this incident. And in a conflict that lasted only a few days, it would be premature to declare any system battle-tested. But it raised an important question. If these systems were meant to shift the balance, why didn't they? Next came the Middle East. For the first time in history, Iran launched a direct, large-scale strike against Israel using missiles and drones. This wasn't a proxy confrontation. This wasn't deniable. It was open, state-to-state action. Hundreds of projectiles were launched. The world was watching. Iran does not depend entirely on China for its military capability. but Chinese technology has influenced parts of its defense architecture over the years. Radar designs and surveillance concepts, missile guidance components, integrated air defense technologies, drone development cooperation. Chinese linked systems were part of the broader ecosystem. This was not indirect anymore. This was a live operational test. The vast majority of incoming missiles and drones were intercepted. Israeli air defenses operated at full capacity. Layered systems worked in coordination. Allied support enhanced interception coverage. Israeli aircraft continued operating across the region with relative freedom. Airspace control did not shift. Iran's strike demonstrated reach, but it did not achieve air dominance. It did not fundamentally alter the balance. Once again, systems influenced by Chinese military technology were present in the confrontation, and once again, they did not decisively change the battlefield equation. There was no clear winner in a traditional sense. But there was a clear outcome. Air superiority remained with Israel. The defensive shield held, and the larger narrative that Chinese-linked military ecosystems would dramatically tilt modern conflict remained unproven. Now we turn to South America. Venezuela has long been one of China's most significant military customers in the region, acquiring a wide range of systems, from VN-class armored vehicles and sensors to advanced radar networks and support infrastructure. The promise behind all of this was straightforward. Chinese equipment would help Venezuela defend its regime and deter external threats. But late in 2025, when tensions with the United States escalated sharply, reality looked very different. U.S. forces conducted a rapid, highly coordinated operation in Caracas to capture President Nicolás Maduro. Despite Venezuela's extensive defenses, including Chinese-linked radar systems that were touted to detect even stealth aircraft, those defenses failed to provide effective early warning or a decisive response. American intelligence, electronic warfare, and operational coordination quickly overwhelmed the network. In this engagement, U.S. forces demonstrated overwhelming technical superiority, deep intelligence penetration, electronic dominance, total situational awareness, rapid strike coordination. What China had supplied did not stop it. It did not meaningfully slow it. It did not change the outcome, because when one side can see everything and the other cannot respond effectively, the battle is already decided. To many observers, this episode illustrated more than just a tactical outcome in Venezuela. It highlighted the enduring technological edge of U.S. systems over Chinese-linked equipment in a real operational scenario. And here's a telling moment from earlier in the crisis. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro, under intense pressure, publicly displayed a Chinese-branded device, claiming it was more secure than other technology and implied it could withstand foreign penetration. That was the amount of confidence that they relied on China. In other words, the symbolic show of confidence did not translate into strategic resilience. Unlike the short India-Pakistan standoff and the contested Israel-Iran confrontation, the Venezuela episode was not just about regional tension, it became an unmistakably asymmetric test. When U.S. forces applied full intelligence, electronic warfare, and precision strike capabilities, the defense systems linked to Chinese technology did not decisively prevail. In 2025, three distinct theaters, South Asia, the Middle East, and South America, raised the same underlying question. Does China's military narrative hold up when tested by real conflict? In each case, the answer was not as straightforward as the global reputation suggests. China is not weak. It is a major military power with vast resources, industrial depth, and growing global influence. But real power is not measured in parades. It isn't proven in press releases, and it isn't validated by export numbers. It is tested under pressure, against capable opponents, in moments where failure has consequences. In 2025, those tests happened. And the results were complicated. So here's the real question. If Chinese systems struggle to decisively shape real conflicts, can their performance claims be taken at face value? And perhaps the deeper question, are the most advanced capabilities kept at home, while export versions tell a different story? No one outside Beijing truly knows. But in modern warfare, perception matters. And once perception is tested, it's difficult to rebuild.